7 seconds to grab a hat.
Well, no. Hello and welcome to Geoscope with me, Graham Hughes, and also when he comes back with his hat, I guess. I said 7 seconds, Ollie, not 7 minutes. Ollie, wait, where's he got? He's gone to get his hat. That's brilliant. That I was like 7 seconds, and he's like, I'm gonna go. Here he is, bowler hat man. Oh no, it's Bane. The bane of my existence. How's everyone doing in the chat? Is everyone okay? If you would like to join the chat, all you have to do is subscribe. And if you can understand what Ollie's saying, even better, if you want to translate that for us. We've got Dark4x4 in the chat. We've got Alex French. We've got Lofty the Softy. We've got someone called Bowler Hat Man saying soon. That's ominous. We've also got Glenn in there. We've got Roger, One Angry Pagan. Hello, Badger. Where is my Badger? Oh, here he is. Here's Brock the Badger. And so we've got loads to get through tonight. So should we start with the debate that's kicking off? I think at 2:00 our time. I'll tell you what, while you're telling us about the debate, I'll find out what time it starts because we're doing a watch party on this channel.
I think this could be very fun. I think this debate. You've seen, of course, Donald Trump's. I think you did it yesterday. Donald Trump's really weird answer he gave to child support, which was the most rambling answer to anything I think I have ever seen in my life.
I read it out. I read the whole thing out yesterday. I read it all out, what he said, and it is just absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
And then I was told off for putting full stops and commas in because he wasn't that lucid. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. It's absolutely unbelievable. Honestly, I think what you're going to see tonight is Trump is now under pressure. Trump is under incredible pressure to perform tonight.
So we've all been there, eh, Ollie? Wink, wink.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink, wink. Say no more, say no more.
Yeah, I think he's going to be under incredible pressure tonight, and I think he is going to
lose. Painfully.
Well, I think he's not only is he going to lose, but I think he's going to flub.
It is 2 a.m.
left, right, and center, and I think he is just going to go on an absolute rampage.
What do you mean a rampage?
Saying anything and everything he possibly can, basically.
Okay. Okay.
Nothing will be off the table for him to say, I think, tonight.
Okay, it is going to be a madness. But we have got an urgent question that's just come in from Puninator, who wants to know, where's the bowler hat, man?
You see, it was me who stole the bowler hat. It's me, Bane.
Bane.
I don't know why I got this. It was just like I ran for a hat, dipped my hand into my wardrobe, and this is the first thing.
That's the first thing that came out. Yeah. That was the first thing on the top of the wardrobe that he uses for sex play or something. Famously worn by Jimmy Stewart in the film The Dark Knight Rises, where he played the character Bane, who was a guy who was afflicted by having to have a goatsy mask. Anyone who knows who goatsy is going to just spat out their tea. Anyone who doesn't know what goatsy means, you are living in blissful ignorance. Please stay there. You do not want to know. There's the early adopters of the internet meme. Power to the people. I think his ego is so big that he might just think he can go off script and say what he likes, then trip himself up with lunacy and stupidity. I think that might happen. But here's what I postulate. There you go. Learned a new word today. Here's what I postulate. I think that it doesn't matter. I think for him, it doesn't matter how mad or rambling his answers are. It's not going to affect his polling. Where this will affect polling is Kamala Harris, and she needs to put in a sterling show. She needs to be not knocked off script. She needs to be not distracted by Trump's lunacy. There's a lot going on. Like, she can't trip up. She's the one carrying the Ming vase across the ice rink. And Puninator, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. I hope Harris walks out to Under Pressure by Freddie Mercury and David Bowie.
I'm not going to lie, that would be the ultimate flex. That would be like the ultimate flex.
And then John C. Thank you very much for the mega chat. That's really nice of you. Thank you. Trump's fan base just want to hear words.
Yeah.
Words coming out of his
Remember,
stupid mouth.
Trump's got all the best words.
I hate his
got the
voice.
best words.
He has the stupidest voice in the world. Like all of these right-wing commentators and pundits and politicians, they all have weird voices because they're all weird. Brad W wants to know, could Trump end up being racist in the debate? Well, I think
probably
he will.
Probably.
I think he'll start off being racist in the debate because he is a racist. Thanks very much.
Did you see the whole debate that the Republicans had when Harris was chosen?
No.
Oh, this was insane.
Debate.
When Harris was like being put in, there was the whole thing being sent around like the Conservatives. Whatever you do, do not attack her on race because it won't play well for us. So that has been very much in play throughout this so far.
Okay.
And you can tell every single like Republican commentator, conservative commentator out there is chomping at the bit to go after that because it's the only thing they would normally go after, and they can't because they've been told by like the conservative higher ups, if you do that, it's going to end badly for them.
Well, do you know what I'm thinking they should do? Right. Let's face it. Neither of them have to answer any questions. There's no fact checkers there. So they could just say what they like. So if I was Kamala, or I was advising Kamala, I would say I'd be watching the roast of Donald Trump that was the 2011, I think, White House Correspondents' Dinner, when Obama went off on one on Trump, which, you know, in hindsight was probably a bad idea. It probably made Trump like so angry that he went into politics to try and get exact his revenge, which he has done. But just go after him on the things that he just absolutely hates. You know, keep mentioning the fact that he has small crowd sizes and that he doesn't really know much. Like he's one of these people who thinks he's a genius. He's a very stable genius. But then nail him on the fact that he can't remember the names of all these different leaders around the world. He called Colonel Gaddafi the Colonel, didn't he? Oh, no, that was George W. Bush. I keep getting them mixed up. Well, he did something like that. Anyway, he got Nikki Haley mixed up, didn't he, with Nancy Pelosi? Yeah. He got Obama mixed up a bunch of times with Biden and Hillary Clinton for some reason.
Yeah, so there's someone I do not understand why she is just completely not going after Trump 100%. There is someone who could generally maybe bring the Republican Party back into some sort of sanity. And to do that, she has to really go after Trump. And I think if he loses big, which again, we hope he does, I think there's going to be a lot of Republicans that go after him. They're going to smell blood in the water. They're going to go after him hard. I really, really hope they do.
Roxy Rules points out RIP James Earl Jones. We're all very upset about this. We lost James Earl Jones from Star Wars. He did the voice for Darth Vader. Dave Prowse, who we lost a few years ago, who was actually the man in the suit. And he played King Jaffrey Jafar in Coming to America, and also Mustafa, the dad of Simba in The Lion King. A bunch of other brilliant roles that he was in, and he just came across like a really nice man, but incredible gravitas. And it's the difference, isn't it, between someone reading words off a page and someone actually bringing a character to life. And he really did bring the character to life.
Yeah.
And I know Dave Prowse was a bit upset, you know, in the original Star Wars filming, because he was saying all the words and he thought that it was going to be his voice.
Yeah.
The only problem is he's like a Brummie or something. Was he a Brummie?
Yeah. If you've heard the original recording, it doesn't come across very good, to be honest.
Luke, I've got to
understand why they maybe did that.
Mufasa, sorry. I got the name wrong. Oh, I feel bad now. Sorry, Ollie, you're going to have to do the rest of the show on your own. I got the name wrong. I'm going to have to walk into the sea forever. Now, anyway, back to the debate. A band of harp jays are saying, let's hope he does fart. Yeah. Vegan Elite is saying Trump is mad. We've got Ephraim Stuck saying, is Ollie broadcasting from inside an exploding TARDIS? Are you inside?
Oh no, I've gone with the physics lab background today.
If your physics lab looks like that, you're in a lot of trouble. You are in a lot of trouble. This is Thulsa Doom Erasure. Obviously, he played Thulsa Doom with that incredible fringe. I've also got Prowse from the West Country. Yes, you're right. So he was from Cornish. Was he Cornish or Devonian or something? Like the era. West Country accent. Bristol, proper West Country. Everyone's shouting West Country at me. They named him Darth Farmer on set. And one angry penguin saying climate change increasing food insecurity in San Antonio, other places. HSS official warns in the San Antonio Covenant, which is a funny name for a newspaper, next to the San Antonio Sultana and the San Antonio Raisin. And Simon Smith is saying Kamala needs to list off every Trump's business and tax dealings. Not necessarily, because if you have a go at him for not paying tax, he'll say something like, that's because I'm smart. Have a go at him for all his bankruptcies. The best one about the fact that he bankrupted a casino.
Yeah.
Just like that, just go. You know, you got to listen to advice on the economy off someone who bankrupted a casino. And then just
that might be an interesting attack angle, actually, for Kamala to go after. Just go after all these recent indictments and just see if she can't get him to like perjure himself on stage. That might be might be an interesting.
Wind him up, absolutely. Wind him up. Press all the buttons because he's very irritable. He is quite irritating and irritable at the same time. So I think there's a lot of scope for her to wind him up and properly have a go at him. I just hope that it's not boring. Because she needs a bounce after this because they are neck and neck in the polls at the moment. They're neck and neck in all of the swing states. It's within the margin of error on all 7 of the swing states that are in play. But in slightly better news, like North Carolina is now lean Democrat, which is insane. Like North Carolina has been Republican for yonks and it's now lean
It's insane that state's in play. Like just Florida brought in Kamala Harris, that state's now in play.
Yeah, Florida is now in play, and also Texas, believe it or not, is Texas, now. I mean, it'll probably go to Trump, but it's within the margin of error.
Texas is the interesting one because that is again because of California and its massive increase in house prices. There's been a lot of people moving from California to Texas, and it's been turning it. What the term is more and more purple, but it's becoming more and more blue as more people sort of move from California to Texas to live there. And it's been one of these states that's been in play for the past couple of elections. I thought it might have gone blue last time for Biden. I didn't, but it was quite purple. And we got Georgia instead, which was the surprise of the night. That'll be another interesting state to watch on election night as well, to see if that stays blue or that goes back red. That will be very interesting to see what happens there. But there's some very interesting things coming through. Like you say, South Carolina. Everyone will be watching what happens with Texas because again, it's in play again. Very, very interesting stuff to watch on election night.
Yeah. Alec Barrett, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. The Texas Dem senator is within 2% of Ted Cruz. I do not like that man, Ted Cruz. Thank you very much for that, Alec. And listen,
with a fox.
Yeah. And, listen, you got to hold the front page for a moment. Oh. Sorry, I've got a cold. Hayton Puds has just done breaking news. Sony have said that the PS5 Pro is going to be £700. With a disk drive, an additional £100. Madness. Do you know what's madness? The latest Samsung S24, is it?
Yeah.
It's £1,000. It's £1,000. The new iPhone is £1,000. Like for a phone. It's a phone. I know you use it all the time, so it's probably worth it, but I'd just about pay £134 for a phone.
Yeah.
If push comes to shove.
I need a new phone because I've come to the end of my contract now, and I'm just like, well, it still works. So why do I
make it slower and slower? They just make it slower and slower, don't they, on purpose? It's very annoying. Mikey says he's on a spree of describing his sexual assault to trick him into defending himself. Mikey, that's a very good point. And Paul says,
I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes their strategy.
I call him weird.
Strategy.
Yeah. Just keep calling him weird. This is from Jessel. Just keep calling him weird and occasionally shout "bang" really loudly. I can never confirm or deny. Hey, did you see bloody Jeremy Kyle got away with it, didn't he? Little bastard. You all saw what he did on his show. I know this is British politics, but
yeah, I haven't been keeping up with that whole Kyle thing, but yeah.
Well, basically, the coroner ruled that the Jeremy Kyle show had nothing to do with the guy's subsequent suicide, even though Jeremy Kyle was absolutely horrible to him and called him a liar and just berated him in footage that we finally got to see. And also, they told him that the lie detector was up to 95% accurate, which is bullshit. Which is absolute bullshit.
Yeah, lie detectors are not that accurate.
If the coroner went to school with Jeremy Kyle privately educated, of course. Come on, he's on TV and he gets away with things. Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me if they went to school together or there's been some backhanders going on. Allegedly. I'm not accusing anyone of nothing, just saying allegedly. I've heard. Some people are saying, Ollie, Emma Price, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Kamala just needs to say, after each time he speaks, that's a lie, then give a policy that will address the question. Sorted. Yeah, but we know he lies. He doesn't care. He leans into his lies. Like the front of one of the newspapers over there, like printed all of his lies, didn't they? Remember when he was running last time, and there was something like 742 lies in 1 year, and it didn't make any difference. Like people don't care about that. They love him, but they don't want to be seen as weirdos. And so if you call him a weirdo and they're following him, they see him as the school bully. So they're following around the school bully because they can hide behind the school bully and hopefully he won't bully them. He'll be too busy bullying other kids. But if they're following the school weirdo, that's something else. And JD Vance is doing a really good job of cementing the idea that the Republicans are really fucking weird, because they are. They really,
we need to import this from America. This is a good import. This is what we want to import.
Yeah.
Calling conservatives weird.
Brad W, £2 super chat. Why are all famous Jeremys twat? Jeremy Corbyn, Jeremy Hunt, Jeremy, what's his name? Clarkson. Jeremy Kyle, obviously. Jeremy Vine is all right. I quite like Jeremy Vine, but yeah, any Jeremy that you can probably name went to private school, except for Jeremy from Peep Show. He didn't go to private school, although David Mitchell did, and so did his wife, Victoria Mitchell what's her name? Victoria Mitchell Collin, who it's why they're always on the TV. Can't get them off the TV. That's why Ollie and I have to make do with YouTube.
Yeah.
But we're here. We're here for you. We are here for you. So, what else has been going on in America? So there's been we talked about this a little bit last night on the old Stateside show, but I think you know a bit more about this. This is about Tenet, not the film that no one went to see because there was a pandemic. This is about this media group in America that got paid $10 million by the Kremlin to spread misinformation. Who is the worst little miss of them all? Little misinformation. Roger Hargreaves will be spinning in his grave. Anyway, go on. Tell us more about it.
Oh, it honestly feels like when you talk about this, it's like, guess what, everyone? The sky is blue.
Yes.
It really does feel like this. And especially when I heard about it, it was like, oh, big shocker, right? big shocker. But I want to come at this from a different angle. So I know you had a talk about this yesterday, so I want to try and add some more stuff that the audience might not have heard of yesterday, because I've been talking about this on my channel as well. But I think I've said before, I work in marketing. I engage with a lot of influencers on behalf of companies. If we want to bring on an influencer to promote a product, make some social media posts for us, do something like that. If I am approaching someone who is like a potential influencer, you don't just give them money.
Yeah.
Like that would literally be like, I might as well just set it on fire and just burn the company's money. But if I approach an influencer, first thing I want is I want KPIs. I want those. I want to know, how many clicks do you get? what other things you've been involved in, what results have you previously had, how many views, likes, etc. Here's a call to action. Here's
you sound like Phil Morehouse. I think Phil would have a lot in common with you there. He's quite into his metrics. He likes his metrics. Dream Dancer's pointing out that is disinformation, which is purposeful misinformation. But that couldn't have made me Roger Hargreaves joke. Anyway, back to Ollie. Wanted to get his money's worth. Tell us about getting your money's worth, Ollie.
Yeah, it's just shocking because they are getting $100,000 a video. That is insane.
Well, you know, absolutely, we do well on this channel. We sometimes get,
and there is nothing.
We sometimes get about 20 quid.
Well, I know, but it's even worse because when you look at the actual Tenant Media channel, some of these videos are only getting like 700 views. It's like nothing. It's absolutely nothing that they are getting off like Tenant Media itself, but they are getting influencers who have reach of hundreds of thousands of people to repeat Russian talking points. Namely, of course, the big one that was in the DOJ thing, that they wanted to spread the idea that American soldiers were going to go and die on behalf of Ukraine.
Yes.
And that's one of the talking points they wanted to spread. And the immigrants are coming to America, violent immigrants, especially Ukrainian immigrants.
Yes.
So there should have been alarm bells ringing in these people's ears, thinking this doesn't sound right. This should not be on the up and up. But I'll tell you why. It's because they get offers like this all the time. They have to be getting offers like this all the time just to be able to just go, oh, yeah, you want me to repeat these talking points? Sure, I'll take that money.
Well, Legal Eagle. Do you follow Legal Eagle on YouTube? He's dropped a video about this a couple of hours ago, so I'll put the link into the chat for that. But yeah, I mean, they must have been getting something for their money because, I mean, we know that we got about 7 million from somewhere, which was probably Russia, that helped pay for the Brexit fraud referendum. And, you know, it went to Cambridge Analytica to steal data off people and then target them with messages that were bullshit. So if they had mentioned in a Facebook post to their friends that they liked polar bears, they would be hit with an advert that said the EU is trying to kill all the polar bears. They would be hit by an advert if they were drinking tea. And there was a picture of them. Also, they said, I like tea. The EU is trying to take away your cup of tea. And I mean, that was 7 million well spent, considering that Brexit has cost well in excess of over £1 trillion to this country. £1 trillion.
Yeah.
They're trying to save 1.5 billion by not giving like pensioners the winter fuel budget, winter fuel payments, and at the same time, all that money's gone.
This story broke just a couple of hours ago. But have you heard about Germany tightening, potentially upsetting Schengen?
Oh no!
Yeah,
tell me more.
That's a thing that's just broke. Yeah, Germany, because of the whole ADF stuff, rise of the far right, rise of the populist. They are looking now at maybe tightening immigration rules, which is potentially threatening Schengen, which now potentially threatens the entire unity of like the EU and what that could mean. So that could have a lot more consequences down the line for a lot of other things.
Okay. I'm a bit concerned because obviously it's going to be harder than ever before for us in my lifetime to travel around Europe. Well, no, since the Berlin Wall came down, actually, to travel around Europe next year because they're bringing, well, it might be later this year, they're bringing the ETIAS system, the electronic travel authorization system, which keeps getting knocked back.
Yeah,
but I think it might return unwantedly.
But getting back to this DOJ indictment, have you heard about Lauren Chen?
So Lauren Chen was the co-owner of, having a husband with the co-owner of Tenant Media. Has she legged it? Has she done a bunk? Is that what's happening?
Not yet, but there's talk now of her being arrested, potentially being arrested.
Good.
But yeah, these were the these were the people. She's been fired from the Blaze because she had a job with Blaze TV, which was the what's his name now, Glenn Beck, if people remember him, the guy,
bloody
mad
hell
American guy with the chalkboard.
Is he still around?
He's
I thought he was
around.
Dead. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's still around. So he's got the Blaze network.
Tories.
So she's been fired from that. And she was apparently in the indictment looking up the time in Moscow because there was a late payment coming through. And she was looking them up, and then they're referring to them as the Russians. So it's like, yeah, some of you clearly knew who they were dealing with. They clearly knew who they were doing.
Yeah,
with,
they did mention the Russians in the text messages they got.
Yeah.
But the fact that Tim Pool, who I'd never heard of till last week, to be honest with you, the
Graham,
fact that he said that he's the victim, I know. Well, I've got a girlfriend and I've got friends. I don't need to hang around on that side of the internet. Do you know what I mean? And I know there's that sort of know your enemy idea, but I can't be arsed, mate. There's not enough hours in the day. I had to read enough shit in the newspapers and what's happening in the news.
But what's really weird was last week. It was either last week or the week before. Tim Pool made this video of he's like slamming his fist on the desk, saying, Ukraine is the enemy, and we should apologize to Russia. And you're
wow.
And now this comes out about him receiving all this money to do these Russian talking points, and you're like, that now suddenly all starts to make a lot of sense.
It does indeed. That's mad.
But this is also, according to the FBI, just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, right.
Just the tip of the iceberg, which doesn't surprise me. I thought there would be more. Turns out FBI apparently has a list of over 2,000 influencers that they had, which they were grooming to spread Russian disinformation.
Ooh.
And not all of them are based in America. So it should be, I think, our government should now be asking questions to get the FBI and saying, are there any people from the UK on that list?
Yeah.
Because I can bet you there'd be people like Sargon of Akkad. I won't surprise me if he's on that list. If he's also been, shall we say, victimized by Russian money, to quote Tim Pool.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, I'd love to be victimized by $100,000. I think
mate, I'd live to do that. I'd live to do that. Okay, so we were talking about right-wing talking points, right? So here's something really fucked up that was pointed out to me by Phil today after he did his show this morning on the channel. We were having a talk, and he said, because he's got access to the Labour, to the Politics Social channel as well, so he can post his own stuff on there. And he said, go and have a look at the videos to inspire you in your channel analytics, right? On your channel. And okay, I'm going to read the headlines of the first few. Okay, the first one is from a site called, a channel called Parliamentarian that I've never even heard of. Border boss catches out Diane Abbott spreading bizarre misinformation. The next one is from the Free Speech Union, and the screen grab is of Toby Young, whose daddy called up. He made a phone call, so he got his son into Oxford, even though he didn't get the grades to get into Oxford. Anyway, him, and we're bringing a legal action against the Labour government. And the thumbnail says, Labour's first salvo in the war on free speech. And then we've got Diane Abbott schooled for justifying migrant boats. That is wrong. So it's Diane Abbott being schooled. In fact, what I could do, if you don't mind, Ollie, because I know you can see me, but you can't actually see what's going out. Do you have a feed of what's going out, or is it just? Oh, God,
I just see you. Yeah,
you just see me. Oh, right. Okay. Well, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it come on the screen for everyone to see. I might mess this up. I'll try not to. Hang on, window capture. Okay, let's have a go here. Okay, that looks good to me. All right, there you go. Right, so just so everyone can see, this is what basically YouTube Studio are trying to get me to look at, right? So where was I? Diane Abbott school for justifying migrant boats. That is wrong. Labour's plan to criminalise masculinity. A generational fight. Political organisers on Kamala Harris. That's from Democracy Now!, so I suppose that's fair enough. And then there's a shocking poll thing. There's a former GOP staffer saying a second term of Trump poses an authoritarian threat, so that's okay. And then there's one from Liz Webster, who I should be following her, but I don't think I am. Maybe I should be. And then we've got BBC manipulates a news report to hide the Palestinian identity of a criminal. And then we've got civil rights attorney explains the racist new voter suppression from the Defiant Lawyers Network. Tories may take longer to bounce back than expected from the New Statesman, and how American politics is tearing families apart from the newsagents. So there's a bunch of stories there, and there's some channels that I follow and their videos on there. But the first 6 or so that are at the top, I don't follow those channels, and they were all right-wing, super right-wing talking points. The most obvious one of all being that we're bringing a legal action against Labour governments, with the picture of Toby Young there, which is, if you look at it, it's here on the screen. And I'm like, well, why are you showing me this? What's going on? What's happening with YouTube? Why is YouTube pushing right-wing talking points to a channel that is defiantly not right-wing in any way, shape, or form? And also, Phil is getting exactly the same stuff, and we never used to. It always used to be Maximilian or your stuff, Ollie, that would come up, or the BIM podcast, something like that. It would all be our left-wing mates, Femi. But no, now it's all like Toby Young. You might be interested in this video of Toby Young, and I'm like, what? Do you even know me? Do you even? Anyway, so should we move on to the next topic of convo that we have in our list? Because we haven't covered much yet, but you did mention Germany, didn't you? But we also, what's happening in Europe is that Europe are banning mobile phones in schools. So tell us more about it.
I read this story, and I was quite surprised about this. But apparently this is becoming more and more of a thing across Europe, that individual countries now are really starting to consider banning mobile phones completely in schools. And this all goes back to a school in the Netherlands that banned mobile phones. And they did a full study on this type of stuff. And it turned out that the students in these schools actually became more sociable without their phones. So we'll see if this trend does continue. Maybe this will be something, I don't know, maybe it could come over to the UK as well.
Maybe.
But I wanted to bring this up as it's just a really interesting a side note, and a bit of an odd trend that is now happening across Europe, that schools, and especially is becoming, education policy to ban mobile phones in schools. So maybe this is something, next time we need to ask Phil, see what he thinks of this.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've got my own. First of all, I'll say thank you to Tim for the super chat. Thank you, Tim. That's very kind of you. Getting the same here. Just had a video from a Scottish 2-tier policing nutter at the top of my suggestions. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with the old YouTube algo, but it seems to have lost its mind in the last few days. So everyone keep an eye on that. Part of the people saying excellent idea, they should crack on with that immediately. I want, and I think EE are doing this now, but I think I think they are. I would like to see phones for kids. Simple as that. They are phones that are made for kids. Like, I used to have a iPod Touch. I was given it as a present a long time ago. And it was just an iPhone, but without the phone capability. But it could still touch the internet. You could use it for like Skype and stuff. I mean, it was like you could use it as a phone. You just couldn't dial a number. And there's no reason why they couldn't make a stripped down version of a mobile phone without all the connectivity and without allowing apps to be on it that are inappropriate to children. That's it. You can't have those apps. There's no way you can put a VPN on it and get around it. You can't surf the internet. There's only a set number of websites that you can go and visit. You can't just type anything.com in and something will come up like what happens at the moment. And I think that would be really great. I've got 2 young stepdaughters, and the eldest one does have a phone. She's always buried in it. The younger one doesn't have a phone, but she's the only one in her class in school who doesn't have her own phone. And I think that's pretty bad. I think that's pretty bad. And I would like to, and one of the reasons why we don't let her have a phone yet is because we don't think she's old enough, because there's a lot of horrible things on the internet, you know. And Genie Bottle saying Fisher Price phones, yeah, just make a junior version. And it is you know, it's, for all intents and purposes, it does most of the things that a mobile phone does, but it can't access adult content. It can't it can't go to the dark web. It can't go onto TikTok or Twitter or stuff like that children under the age of 13 shouldn't be seeing. Don't forget, there is hardcore pornography on Twitter, which there isn't on Facebook, and there isn't on Threads.
Someone in chat actually saying 2 schools in the Isle of Man have actually taken the decision to ban mobile phones in schools, so it's already spreading here by the looks of it. So this will be interesting to see, because I was kind of shocked that this was actually becoming a thing in Europe. This has really been rolling out, because I think Italy is, I think, one of the most recent countries to do it, I believe, or at least they're considering something like this, I believe, from what I can remember off the top of my head. But it's, again, a lot of these countries now in Europe are really considering doing this.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those interesting sort of policies that you wouldn't, I wouldn't expect maybe catching fire like it is, but it is seemed to be quite rolling out quite a lot.
But the thing is, with having a junior phone, right? It would actually be quite good for the mobile phone companies, because one of their big problems now is that, what's the new one? Is it the iPhone 15 just came out? It looks exactly the same as the 14, as the 13, as the 12. Like, nothing's really changing. I mean, the camera might be a bit better. That's about it. With each iteration, people are holding on to their phones for longer and longer. And so if you have a phone that you know a kid's only going to use for maximum 3-4 years, and then they're going to get another phone, quid's in. Bring back Nokia bricks. Can text or play Snake. So it's close to
bring back Nokia 3310.
Thank you very much to Tim. Thank you very much.
Indestructible phone.
Thanks very much to Tim Ballant there for the super chat, mate. My son's school has gone phones off at the gate policy. They get caught and the parents have to go to the school and get their phone back. Oh, that's quite an interesting one. Power to the people, member for 9 months. Well done, mate. Australia is banning social media for children. So that's what I was going to mention as well. So one of the reasons, with our youngest, all our mates are on a WhatsApp group, and they all text each other all the time on it. And she was feeling a bit left out of this group, because they'll talk about, I'll put it on WhatsApp. So what we've done is, I've used one of my other phones. I've got another phone, my old phone, and I got a gift SIM for it, and basically did WhatsApp web on her tablet, so it's connected to the phone, so I can read all the messages, anything untoward or anything. But what winds me up is that if it was a junior version of WhatsApp, it would be like, unless the number is in your phone, no one can send you a message. Do you know what I mean? They can't just cold call you. They can't. So that would be the junior version of WhatsApp. It would be like, you have to physically put your friend's phone number in your phone, and then they can send you messages. And and also have a ban on pictures that are being sent and things like that, or some kind of restriction on it, which they could do. So someone mentioned about the phones would just get jailbroken, I guess. But okay, I mean,
but how many people are tech savvy enough to really do that?
Yeah, but even if they did jailbreak it, if you make the phone so its actual operating system can only use these apps, the junior apps. And most kids want their phone not to go and look at like the dark web. They want to play. They want to play games on it. They want to play Subway Surfers or Pokemon Go or something. They don't care. They're not. Well, I suppose there might be some demanding little shits, but I think there was a thing about 8-year-olds, like something like half of all 8-year-olds have now got a phone, which I think is just ludicrously young to have a phone. Not because I have a problem with kids playing games at that age. Hell knows I played games at that age. But yeah, access to adult content is something, but also the bullying side of things as well. And also the opportunities for people with, not great intentions to get in touch with children. And we've seen a lot of instances where someone will get in touch with a child. In the end, the child will be persuaded to send them pictures of the child, and then they will bribe the child, or that those pictures will be sent to everyone that they know in their phone book or whatever. A lot of children have been put in this horrible, horrible position. And so if you had a phone that didn't allow that to happen, which we do have the tech to do now.
In fact, Sarah White in chat, again, a brilliant idea, actually. Nintendo friend coding.
Yes.
So you both have your own code, and you give it to each other, but you only get the connection when you both agree to it. Yeah. So something like that, I think we're very good as well.
Yeah. But you could do it. You could have WhatsApp, but it's WhatsApp Junior. You could have Facebook, but it's Facebook Junior. And it doesn't have all of the things that you can get on Facebook. But, and like, for instance, people can't send you friend requests. That's it. That's the rule. You can't, unless you do something like the Nintendo thing, where you actually both have to be physically there with your phones to swap the numbers or swap whatever. So Nintendo friend coding. Good idea, Sarah. Anyway, so should we press on? So Zelensky, he's been on his travels. He's been to India. Tell us more.
Yes, this is actually quite interesting. Actually, whenever the topic of Ukraine has come up, and of course, when we're talking about countries that support Russia in some way. So recently, there's just been a big brouhaha about Iran potentially supplying missiles to Russia. So there's now probably going to be a response to that at some point. So we might end up talking about that next week, in some way, shape, or form. But the three are obviously Iran, you've got India, and you've got China. And in fact, China were expecting potentially at the end of this week, maybe on Friday, we could be seeing sanctions put on Chinese companies that have been supplying electronic parts to for Russian military purposes. And China has been desperate to avoid any of these potential sanctions going on their companies, because it will really affect their economy at a moment where they can't really, or at least they don't really want anything bad economically happening to their economy at the moment. So that could have a significant impact if China goes, okay, our companies are being sanctioned. This is now affecting our economy. Hey, Russia, you need to knock this off. But now talking about India, India has been a country that has been buying a lot of Russian oil. Bear in mind, at very knockdown prices, because Vladimir Putin has been selling it to them at discount prices. So they've been taking massive advantage of this, leading to what, if you remember, last winter, Russia, an oil-based country, practically running out of oil. And you combine that with, of course, the Ukrainians attacking oil depots, oil storage facilities as well. That had a big impact too. But the fact that you have an oil-rich country running out of oil, kind of odd. But yeah, he met with Modi, and they both had a conversation. And Modi apparently has said that when he met with Vladimir Putin, he said, you need to end this war in Ukraine. It's not on. So I think this is good. This will put more pressure on Putin, even if Modi is just blowing smoke. Him saying that publicly will be, I think, definitely seen as Russia as a bit of, maybe our influence with India wasn't as strong as we thought. Obviously, Modi himself having a lot of troubles. He's just lost that big election. He managed to stay in power. But now that he's lost, there's a lot of, very much pro-Ukrainian feeling about this, about territorial sovereignty. Why? Because obviously India has a lot of, territorial disputes with China. So, if they have a territorial dispute with China, then they might like maybe to get some sort of, US or even European backing potentially in the future, should they need it or ask for it. So that is certainly something to sort of bear in mind for the future. But this is interesting to see how this will go. Now we'll see if there's been talks also this week about in Germany of the next time that there is a peace summit, inviting Moscow to take part as well. We'll see what happens there. We'll see if actually Moscow turns up. but obviously this will potentially, I think, be next year in 2025 if this happens. Obviously, we'll have Harris in at that point. And fingers crossed, touch wood, and all that. I think potentially next year we, again, touch everything. I really hope next year this conflict comes to an end. And I think that there's very, very good signs that Ukraine is going to be going into any negotiating position with quite a strong hand. So long may that continue, especially for this point at the moment. But yeah, that's, like I say, we'll see what happens, as always with conflicts like this. It has been a conflict with many, many twists and turns. I don't think these twists and turns are going to be over yet, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, I want to see an end to this conflict. I want to see Russia go back to its own bloody borders, but at the same time, I'm really, really, really concerned about how well Trump is doing. Like, the polls are going to be a little bit out, and they're generally a little bit out. That they tend to favour the Democrats rather than the Republicans. So but someone, when we were talking yesterday about this, I was going to say someone in the chat, but it wasn't someone in the chat. It was Brenner pointed out that there'll be some Democrat women, or at least women who are in a relationship with a guy who's a Republican, who's a Trump voter, who, when asked who they're going to vote for, they're going to say Trump. However, in this election, they might actually not vote for Trump because of the abortion rights issues, the IVF issues, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just hoping that women in America turn out to be our Trump card.
Not only that, but independents as well. I think a lot of independents will have been massively scared off by Trump. Massively so.
Project 2025, mate. Project 2025. It is absolutely fucking terrifying. Sudan's fallen into kind of anarchy, and I believe that the museum in Khartoum, one of the most important museums in the whole of Africa, has been well and truly looted, and artifacts heading off to South Sudan, which is another country now.
Yeah, I think this is really sad when you see stuff like this, because this obviously museum has been looted by the sort of the rebel faction, opposing the government here. And whenever you see this, especially the museum itself was one of massive historical importance. I think it was rated as like one of the most important historical museums in all of Africa for like the number of artifacts it had. It had mummies that were like thousands of years old. There are all kinds of artifacts in there as well. So culturally, this museum was massively important, and to see it get looted in such a way, I just think that's really sad, because
I've got embalmed mummies from 2500 BC.
Yeah,
like you're talking about 4.5 millennia old, and some of the most important archaeological finds in the world. Don't forget the original Egyptian empire. This was Upper Egypt, which is down south, which doesn't make much sense to us, but as far as I'm concerned, it was uphill, which it was. Upper Egypt going down into Nubia, and there's loads of pyramids down there. They're not as big as the big pyramids up in Egypt, but they're quite cool nonetheless. But there's a place called Meroe, where there's a shitload of these pyramids in the middle of the desert. And if you ever have the pleasure of going there, you'll probably be the only tourist there. I was. But it's sad. It's really sad what's going on. And it's another one of those things, like, we talk about war and conflict, and often we talk about
cultural artifacts in war is something I don't think gets brought up enough.
Well,
because
I mean, we talk about soldiers rather than civilians necessarily, and what's happening in civic life, and the fact that people can't get medicine, they can't get enough food, and these knock-on effects of the war. Just not focusing on the battle lines, like who's got a bit of territory and who's attacking which place.
If you remember when ISIS first started popping up in Syria, they started
They
attacking
destroyed
a
one of
lot
the
and even
archers.
destroying a lot of
Yeah, they
they
destroyed one
destroyed
of
a
the.
lot of ancient heritage sites, which was again, and those heritage sites have unfortunately been lost forever now.
Palmyra is
yeah.
one of the most beautiful. I mean, it's right in the middle of the desert. It's in the middle of nowhere, and it's just like Roman town. And yeah, there was a guy there who looked after the place for years and years, and ISIS hung him. And yeah, just they did a lot of damage in Palmyra, and also in Timbuktu in Mali. A lot of places along there, ISIS in Africa, whatever they call themselves at that point. They destroyed mud palaces that were like thousands of years old, and this stuff you can't really recreate it, not like it was. Do you know what I mean? And that's a connection with our shared history with the world.
Obviously Sfax is in the chat as well, pointing out a lot of Scythian artifacts. Russia's looted a lot of artifacts
yes,
in this conflict, but it's not the first time Russia has looted artifacts. If you ever seen the film Monument Men,
yeah,
the very end of Monument Men, they have a race against time against the Russians who have started their own looting program to grab as much stuff, and that's another problem as well.
I've got to say, we can't really talk about looting now.
Yeah, we are bad for this as well. But
looting, not just an airport. We're awful for it. And then we had an act of parliament in the 1950s to say, fuck off, we're keeping all this stuff. A literal act of parliament to say we're not allowed. These museums that have this stuff, because they realise that in the future, the museums might have curators who are like, hey, I'm a little bit uneasy about having this chunk of someone else's history, some other country's history in our place, especially as they want it back. And so they brought in a law to say, no, it would be illegal for you to give it back. So when this stuff is given back to Ghana or Nigeria or China or Greece, it's got to be a loan.
I always think that law should be repealed and left up to the museums to sort of return it. Yeah.
Well, I think they should flip it and say it has to go back. If the country wants it, it has to go back. That's the rule.
Yeah.
And we pay for it.
Yeah.
Because we've had enough pleasure. And make a copy. This is what I don't get. Like, I don't understand this, right? The Parthenon marbles, if you go to the Parthenon Marble Museum in Athens, they have copies of everything. It looks fine. I wouldn't know. It's a copy. I mean, it's a plaster copy, so it's not like made of stone. So that's how you can tell from a distance. But we've got 3D printers now, or CND milling machines, whatever they're called. We can make an absolutely perfect reproduction of anything, of Michelangelo's David. Like we could make a copy of it out of the same type of stone for the same place. And I wouldn't know. Would you know? There's a copy of the Rosetta Stone in the museum in Cairo. The original's in London. There's a copy. It's just a stone with some markings on it. I don't know. I couldn't tell. Just copy them all and send the originals back. That's what I say. But not to war zones, because obviously this kind of shit might happen. Right, we got 4 minutes left. And we've got one last story, I think, which is about Afghan women singing in defiance of the Taliban silencing their voices. So tell us a little bit more about this.
I think this is a brilliant way to fight back against the Taliban. So ever since, of course, the Taliban have retaken over, they've been slowly but surely trying to reassert their dominance, but they've been facing a lot of civic pushback. They've had protests, all kinds of stuff that done to them, which they haven't really responded to in the best of ways. But this is just another way of like the Afghan people really sort of pushing back against Taliban rule, which I think, again, quite fantastic to see. One of the things that didn't, I think, get talked enough about, Rory Stewart talks about this a lot, was during, after sort of we got rid of the Taliban, a lot of the culture that was in that region came back because they were allowed to sort of re-engage with it again. They were allowed to sort of start practicing a lot of these things again. folk songs, all types of stuff that under the Taliban they could not do. And there was a sort of a renaissance in Afghan culture. It doesn't get talked about because obviously, occupations, etc. We know was all, everything that went on there. But there was a point there where you really did see towards the end of it, you had women going to universities, going to schools, getting degrees, getting education. A lot of really good stuff that was happening is now been rolled back almost in many ways, as if the Taliban had never left, which I think is probably the greatest shame about all of it, really. But the new law that they have just reintroduced is all about women aren't allowed to raise their voices in public. They are not allowed to speak in public either. And to fight back against this, women have started singing, because singing technically not covered under this law. So it's sort of found a bit of a sneaky way around how to get through this. So it's a very, very interesting way to sort of, I think, fight back against the Taliban on this one. So yeah, I think it's a really cool way for them to sort of push back against the Taliban on this. And it's not the first time they've done this as well. They've been doing all kinds of different things to try and like use loopholes and all kinds of stuff to sort of fight back against this. Again, if you listen to like Rory Stewart on the Rest of Politics, or you've read a lot of his writings about sort of Afghanistan recently, yeah, he talks a lot about this. It's very good. So go check out his blog that he has on, I think it's Substack. It's on, very, very good. Talks a lot about this.
Yeah. It's really sad when cultures are attacked in this way, in war, or by the government of the country that decides, no, we don't want, this. So it's, this is sort of tied in with what we were saying about Sudan, because I'm thinking about the Bamiyan Buddhas, which were destroyed by the Taliban in 2001, which was shocking. I mean, it was shocking because they filmed it and they went, oh, look, these are the Buddhas that were carved out of the mountain in Bamiyan in Afghanistan, and they blew them up because they didn't want people worshipping them. But no one did. Like 99.9% of the people in Afghanistan are Muslims, and they're going to be worshipping some Buddhist, statues. But yeah, that disregard for history, that disregard for culture, it really winds me up, because one of the things that I always say is like, why would you travel the world if it's the same everywhere? Why would you travel the world if the food was always McDonald's everywhere you went? You wouldn't. Why would you? And it blows my mind that people spend so much money to travel to the Caribbean, and then they just stay in a resort that like could be in Europe. Like, why'd you spend all that money? You could just stay here. You're just going to sit in a resort and eat fish and chips and sit on a beach.
Yeah.
There's lots of unique characteristics about the Caribbean which are wonderful and fantastic, and most people don't get to experience that. Although I'm not being a snob. I mean, if that's what you want to do for your holiday, you're very welcome to do that.
Come to Graham's Island and have fish and chips.
Yes, come to my island. Well, roast dinners. My roast dinners and my scouse were pretty famous on the archipelago when we have a party. Anyway, right. So Anthony Fisher is telling us about the debate tonight and saying that Tim Waltz is doing a watch party. Starts at 1:30. I'm going to be starting about 2:00, so I'm probably going to just start as the actual debate starts. I think coverage on Sky, is going to start at 1:30. So if you do want to watch it with us, please tune in at 2:00. Obviously, I'll do a thumbnail, so you'll be able to ask for a notification when we go live, and we'll watch it together.
Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Ring the bell. Ring the bell.
The bells.
The bells, Esmeralda. So if you do want to watch that, fantastic, please do. I know it's the middle of the night. I know we're going to be knackered. I know that Trump's voice is disgusting, and I don't really want to have to listen to it any more than I have to. But I think if we do it together, it should not be as horrific. And let's hope that Kamala Harris has a few zingers in her arsenal. I That sounds wrong. To blast Trump with, because he really needs to lose this really, really badly. Russell Cannon is saying, bring popcorn. That's a bloody good idea, mate.
Yeah.
I'm going to make some popcorn. I will be asleep at 2 a.m., but happy to watch the video, says Stephanie. You watch it tomorrow if you want. Okay, so I'll be back in the morning as well at 9:30 for Morning Brew. And then at midday, we'll be having Prime Minister's Questions. And then in the evening at 6 o'clock, we'll be having an episode of The Intersection with Rachel Harris. And yeah, that's about it. That's our lineup for tomorrow. So look out for that. And Dark 4x4 saying, I'll do my best to be there at 2 a.m. No, honestly, if you can't be arsed with it and you just want to watch the highlights the next day, you're very welcome to. But if you do want to watch it with me, I'm just hoping it goes better than the last one, Ollie. After the last one, I was just distraught. I was like, that's it. Check out. The world's over. Trump's going to get in, and he's going to be awful. Well, come on, World War III. Great discussion, both, and all from the chat. Good evening, all, says for Trump. And also, Sarah White says, I guess I'll play some Persona 3 while I wait for 2 a.m. That's a really good plan. Okay, Ollie, thank you so much for chatting with me tonight. Will you be around on Friday? Are you gonna come? Are you gonna come to the social?
I should be. Yep.
Did you say you were coming to Liverpool for the conference, or you're not coming, or what are you doing?
I still don't know. I'm just have to double check.
Okay. No one can give me a definite answer. I'm trying to put together a panel to talk about all roads lead back to the EU, but I can't put anything out until I know who's definitely going to be on the panel. And no one's given me an absolute definite thumbs up yet. And I'm like, it's only 2 weeks, mate.
I want to say it's the what is it? The 20th? Is it the 21st?
It's from the Sunday the 22nd to 22nd. Wednesday the 25th. So yeah, I'll be there.
When is your thing happening? It's the Saturday, isn't it?
No, it's the Monday.
Monday, right?
It's not the Saturday. It's the Monday at the Ship and Mitre in Liverpool, and there's only going to be about 50 tickets, so it's not going to be a massive event, but hopefully we'll have Femi and Mike Galsworthy coming along, and maybe a couple of others from the old Remain movement, or as Cozy will call it, the main movement. And now we're all rejoiners, except for the people who are joiners. And they can also put you back in the EU, but also make you a table. Anyway, so little in-joke there for people who are watching on Friday night. So like I say, we'll be back in the morning. And yeah, bloody hell. 4 shows tomorrow, Ollie. 4 shows.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gonna be tiring. Good luck.
I mean, I'm knackered now, mate. I'm full of cold. Yeah.
Go get some pre-sleep, because you're gonna have to wait a couple of hours.
Probably a good idea. Anyway, right, Ollie. Thank you very much. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks for the super chats. Really appreciate it. Give us a like on the way out. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Bye.